it's not that smoky as I remember the 16-year-old. Welcome to Whisky.com, where fine spirits meet. My name is Lüning, Horst Lüning. I'm the master taster of Whisky.com, and today we have the Lagavulin, 8 years old, here on my cask. It's 48% ABV, and the price had been between the 50s and 60s. Euros, pounds, dollars. The distillery Lagavulin was founded in 1816. So this year, 2016, we are celebrating the 200th anniversary of Lagavulin, and for this purpose, this bottle came onto the market in a limited edition. I heard numbers where I have no proof, about 80,000 bottles. And why 8 years old and not 12 years old? Well, in the year 1886, Alfred Barnard, the famous whiskey writer from the 19th century, he wrote this book, The Distilleries of the United Kingdom. There are some replicas on the market. The original book is incredibly expensive and there are only very few copies left. And he tasted an 8-year-old Lagavulin for his book. And he traveled the United Kingdom by train. The railway was developing in the late 19th century, and so he traveled by train and then took the horse cab and visited those distilleries, and in the end he wrote his famous book about that. I have 2 copies of it. Lagavulin Islay Single Malt Scotch Whisky, limited edition, 8 years. There had been a 12-year-old on the market. It was part of the Ascot cellar. And this Ascot cellar was the predecessor of the classic malt of Scotland. And in this Ascot cellar, there was a 12-year-old, I think 40% ABV on the market, included. And I sometime in the late 90s, I was offered a bottle for 200, and I said 200 for a 12-year-old. Can't believe that. No, I will not buy that. And today, 4-figure numbers these bottles are worth. Don't get mixed up. There is a 12-year-old in cask strength on the market already, or every year, in the, how it's called. So they bring a new 12-year-old with a different ABV in cask strength on the market from Lagavulin. So don't mix that with the old one up. Exceptionally fine was how illustrious whiskey chronicler Alfred Barnard described the Lagavulin 8 years old expression he sampled during an 1886 visit to the distillery. In homage to Lagavulin's timeless ability to produce exceptional malts, and in celebration of the distillery's 200th anniversary, this is a reinterpretation of the 8-year-old from Barnard's era, available for 1 year only. So this is the hope. If you haven't had the chance to get a bottle of the first spread palates in the world, there might be more in the first year, so in this year 2016. The nose is immediately soft with clean, fresh notes partnering faint hints of milk chocolate and lemon, then develops fragrant tea-scented smoke alongside nose-drying maritime aromas with subtle cereal. The palate is light in texture with a magnificent, full-on Lagavulin taste that's even bigger than you may expect. Sweet, smoky and warming with a growing pungency, then dry with more smoke. The finish is lovely, clean, very long and smoky. This is a polished and exquisitely crafted celebration of Lagavulin with smoky, clean aromas and a mighty taste. Made to mark our bicentenary, it's a whiskey to celebrate in every sense. With color, sugar caramel. And here in the top there is this handwriting from Alfred Barnard. Here we go. I had this whiskey already. Smoky, of course. What else? It was the fourth whiskey which was offered to the at the Highland dinner at Blair Castle, where the keepers of the Quaich met this spring in 2016. And this was the final whiskey after 3 others. And there had been, well, an opulent meal in front with fish and haggis and very intense food, so that you weren't really able to taste all those whiskeys, and it was very loud and a lot of music and singing and orders from perfumed ladies and sweeting men. So it wasn't that easy to taste this whiskey here in my more or less sterile environment. I will be able to figure out more. So smoke, but it's not that smoky as I remember the 16-year-old. So if I would have to give a number of ppm to this whiskey, I would say 35 to 40. And the 16-year-old, I would say 40 to 45. So this is less smoky in my sense. But if a whiskey matures for a longer time, for twice these 8 years to the full 16 years, then the smokiness should reduce due to oxidization inside the cask. So why is this younger whiskey even less smoky than the other, the standard version? Well, I heard in 1990 something, that they had a time where they produced whiskey with a lower ppm. I always sniffed at the Lagavulin 16 and thought, when should it start to get less? And never, that happened never. So probably this was just a trial, and perhaps there had been such a trial again later, and this is the result. And if you look at the color, even it's written on it with sugar caramel. It's light. It's what I call a white wine whiskey. And even for 8 years, there should be more color in it for a standard maturation. So this is second fill, or even third, fourth fill, which typically is called refill. And so there is, or cannot be that much cask influence on this whiskey. To be a little critical, well, sometimes we have to be critical. They looked for all those lighter matured casks, because Alfred Barnard said, well, it was light and smooth. So they looked after those lighter casks because the heavy oak influence, which the 16-year-old shows, would be contrary against the statement of Alfred Barnard. So they had to look after weaker casks, and there the refill casks are showing up. So smokiness, and behind there's some citrus from the distillery character, and the smokiness is not this medicinal or phenolic, it's more bonfire, and there is some sea influence. And the smoke combines with it, so it's bonfire at the shore. But the ppm is not that high as I would have had expected. And I'm not able to taste these cereals or maltiness very strong. So my taste buds and taste receptors in my nose, they do not show a lot of maltiness in every whiskey. So this is a kind of taste blindness I have, and the oiliness is what I'm not able to figure out really good. So for me, different oils which you use for cooking, I always try them, find out one against each other, and the differences are minimal for me. So oiliness is very difficult for me. Well, there aren't that many whiskies on the market which show big oiliness, but there are some. And there I have my problems, yeah. So the citrus is becoming stronger. The smokiness fading a little away. And probably this might be a little maltiness, yes. Yeah, could be. Quite intense on my tongue, 48% ABV, well, this, and pungent. Yeah, and well, why 48%? Well, the typical Lagavulin has 43, and well, on one side of the distillery there is a distillery which bottles at 46, and on the other hand, the other side there's 48. Well, and they said, well, we won't go up to get in competition with a 12-year-old in cask strength, which typically has 57, 58. But we have to be in competition with our neighbors, which show 48%. So we will give 48 as an extra for this celebration bottle. The pungency is fading away. There's a long aftertaste. There's a smokiness covering the inside of my mouth. And there's close to no oakiness. Close to none. There's no bitterness, the spiciness, no. Everything comes from the distillery character, from the peat, from the smoke. So this is a very untypical Lagavulin, 8 years. And then this kick of pungency fades away and gives way to a long, warm aftertaste with a smokiness in your mouth. If you got such a bottle, well, what to do? Should you collect it and wait for later times to sell it for a higher price? Well, I would suggest you buy a 16-year-old Lagavulin. This is, from my personal opinion, a much more balanced single malt whiskey, where you can feel the casks, have the smokiness, have the distillery character, and this one is a little one-sided. The smokiness is not that intense, the alcohol is a lot stronger, the casks deliver very few aroma to the whole. So I would prefer the 16-year-old and keep that for later times, where you can exchange this bottle against 10 of the standard ones. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned, there's more to come. Feel free to share this video with your friends, and hopefully you give me a thumbs up for this video. And please discuss this bottle with me in our forum on Whisky.com.